Hey everyone, just wanted to say thank you so much for 40,000 subs. That's a massive milestone for me. It still blows my mind how many people enjoy these little stories of mine. So thank you. I hope you continue to enjoy the rest of the series. Anyway, let's get into the story. The chamber was silent, save for the faint drip of water echoing from some unseen crack in the ceiling. The stone walls of the ancient fortress closed in with suffocating weight, and the air smelled of dust, iron, and old death. Sir Aldrich, clad in blackened plate armor, stood at a solitary altar in the heart of the ruins. His gauntleted hands hovered over an ornate golden chalice, resting on the cold slab of stone before him. The goblet was magnificent, carved with the anguished faces of souls frozen in eternal torment. Their mouths gaped as if they had screamed at the moment of their imprisonment. It gleamed unnaturally in the dim light, drawing his gaze like a moth to flame. He had heard whispers of this artifact, the chalice of eternities. It promised great power, the kind of strength that could turn the tide of kingdoms and carve empires out of dust. But it was said to be cursed, for every gift of the chalice came at a cost far greater than the reward. Behind him, unseen by Aldrich's vigilant eyes, a presence stirred. A figure emerged from the shadows, a gaunt woman with hair like a tangle of cobwebs and skin stretched thin over bone. Her mouth stretched wide in a grotesque smile, her eyes gleaming with wicked delight. She had lingered here for centuries, bound to the chalice and to any fool who dared claim it. Her whisper slithered into the knight's mind, though he thought it only the echo of his own fears. "Yes, take it, noble knight. You have suffered long. You have bled for your people. You deserve its gift." Aldrich frowned beneath his visor, his breath heavy inside the steel shell. He remembered the long war, the endless battles, the lives lost under his command. He remembered the last campaign where he had watched his king fall, an arrow buried deep in the sovereign's throat. His kingdom was dying, reduced to ash and despair. He had come seeking salvation, not for himself but for his people. And here it was. His gauntleted fingers brushed the chalice, and at once the golden cup seemed to warm under his touch. He felt a surge of strength in his chest, a fire in his blood. For the first time in years, he felt the weight of his armor vanish, as though he had been young again. His grip tightened. Behind him, the shadowy woman leaned closer, her grin spreading wider, her breath cold as winter. She whispered again, "Drink, brave knight, drink, and you shall be king. All shall kneel before you, all shall fear your name." Aldrich hesitated. His code had always been clear. He had sworn oaths of honor, service, and humility. He had fought not for crowns, but for the weak. Yet the temptation was powerful. His people needed more than honor now. They needed power. They needed a savior. And what was he, a man grown weary, compared to the salvation of a kingdom? He lifted the chalice from the altar. The golden vessel felt impossibly heavy, as if filled with the weight of eternity itself. He tilted it toward his helmet, preparing to remove the visor. But then he heard another voice. It was faint, distant, like an echo carried from long ago. It was the voice of his king, the man he had served loyally until the bitter end. "Power is a chain, Aldrich. Never forget that. Our duty is not to rule, but to protect." Aldrich froze, his hands trembling. He had buried his king with those words etched into his heart. He had sworn never to forget them, but here, now, with salvation so close, he faltered. The woman leaned closer, her grin twisting into a leer. She placed her long, skeletal hands on his armored shoulders. "Do not be a fool," she hissed. "Your king is dust. His words are nothing. What has honor given you but graves and sorrow? Drink, and they will live. Deny yourself, and all will perish." Aldrich's breath echoed within his helm. His thoughts swirled like a storm. He saw the burning villages, the cries of children, the blood-soaked earth. He saw the faces of those who had trusted him, who had died because he was not strong enough, Slowly he raised the chalice. But then something stirred within him. He felt the hands on his shoulders, the cold, bony fingers that clutched at him like chains. And he realized the truth. This was no gift. This was a trap. The chalice's power was not salvation, but slavery. It promised strength, but the cost was his soul, his will, his very humanity. He looked again at the grotesque faces carved into the chalice. They were not decorations, they were warnings. They were the souls of those who had taken the chalice before him, men and women who had been devoured by its curse. With a growl, Aldrich slammed the chalice back onto the altar. The sound echoed like thunder. The woman shrieked, her grin faltering, her skeletal frame quivering with rage. "Fool!" she hissed, her voice splitting into 1,000 whispers. "Do you spurn the gift? Do you think you are stronger than those who came before?" Aldrich turned, his visor casting her image in shadow. His hand went to the hilt of his sword. "I am no king," he said, his voice steady. "I am a knight, and my duty is not to power, but to the people." The woman's grin twisted into a mask of fury. She lunged, her claws outstretched, her form flickering like smoke. Aldrich drew his blade in one swift motion, the steel gleaming in the dim light. Their clash shook the chamber. Shadows writhed on the walls as steel met phantasm. Her laughter filled the air, shrill and unholy, while his defiance rang like a bell of iron. Blow after blow he struck, each fueled by the strength of his oath, each one shattering the illusions she hurled against him. At last, with a cry that echoed like a battle horn, Aldrich drove his sword through the chalice itself. The golden vessel split, light and shadow exploding outward in a blinding burst. The woman screamed, her form unraveling into smoke and ash, vanishing into the void. Silence fell once more. The chalice lay in shattered pieces upon the altar, the carved faces now nothing but dust. Aldrich sank to one knee, his sword trembling in his grasp. He was weary, yet he felt no regret. The chalice had been destroyed, but so too had its curse. The cycle of temptation and damnation was broken. Though he would return to his people without the power he had sought, he carried with him something greater, the truth that honor, though fragile, was the only shield worth bearing. And perhaps in time his people would see that strength did not lie in cursed relics, but in the courage of men who stood unbroken. Sir Aldrich rose, sheathing his sword. The shadows of the chamber seemed lighter now, the air less oppressive. He turned his back on the altar and walked toward the exit, each step echoing with the weight of finality. The chalice was gone, the shadow was banished, and the night remained.